Welcome to Mobile by May, a place where we explore historic architecture, architectural salvage, and real estate that tells a story about our city's history. Welcome to Oakleigh Historic House Museum in Oakleigh Garden Historic District. I am so excited to share this with y'all. This is an iconic living landmark in the heart of our historic district. And this is an 1833 Greek Revival home that was originally built by James Roper, who was a cotton factor and a brick mason. And it has really stood the test of time. And to me, it's just such an incredible story to tell about our city and the history of it. And it's such a wonderful blend of the three really key aspects of architecture, which is harmony, balance, and proportion. And it looks like a Greek temple. And so this was built on the highest ground in the downtown area, originally on 33 acres, and just kind of like reminiscent of the Acropolis in ancient Greece, which is really what it's designed after. And so, it was always on the high ground, and it had this Greek temple style. And if you can see these monumental columns here with the pediment and the portico, and it's also an incredible blend of adjusting it to adapt to this southern, very humid climate along the Gulf Coast. So it's really like a combination of a Gulf Coast cottage and a Greek Revival temple-style mansion. And then because you have these galleries on either side, which really helped, of course, with ventilation, to get air in here, because it was obviously back then they didn't have air conditioning, but it also allowed light to come in. So one of the neat aspects of Oakleigh Mansion here is the fact that it's a T-shaped antebellum mansion. Antebellum architecture for Greek Revival really was 1820s to the 1860s, and it took a couple years to build, but it was about 1833 when they started building this beautiful home, and it has just stood the test of time because it's so much more than a house. It is a work of art. It tells a story about our city, about the people that built it, about the materials that were used, the craftsmanship, the style. All of it is just this wonderful story about our city. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And it's managed by Historic Mobile Preservation Society, which I'm now a member of. And when they asked me to become involved, and I started doing some research on their website, and it had their mission statement to be the premier guardian of Mobile's architectural heritage. I'm like, man, I got to do this. This is everything I love. I want to save and preserve everything possible for future generations. And it's also a really powerful testament about a lady who was a realtor, Maggie May Wortham, I think her name was. She was with Roberts Brothers in the 1960s, and she had the idea to preserve this house and to sell it to the city, and met with the mayor. And lo and behold, here we are 70 some years later, due to her vision and thoughts to help preserve it. And so my thing is, one person can make a difference. And so we've lost so much incredible architecture in Mobile. It's so important for us to save what we do have left and to showcase it. So this is just a real honor and a privilege for me to be able to share this with y'all. And so what I want to do, I'm going to come down this beautiful staircase, which is so unique to Oakleigh. It's cantilevered, so it looks like it's unsupported from downstairs. And it's so unusual to have a central staircase coming down through the middle of the house. I can just imagine walking down this almost 200 years ago, how phenomenal that was. So Greek Revival architecture was so popular in that period of time because we were such a young country. We had only been 1776. Our country was less than 60 years old when this home was being built. So we really wanted to have a unique identity that represented democracy and democratic ideals, and kind of get away from the British rule that we had. So that's why it was so embraced, especially in the South. A lot of courthouses, bank buildings, civic buildings, and houses. And so if you look at the portico here and the pediment, see how this triangular pediment here with this very heavy entablature here with these cornices. So it's built to be very powerful, very strong. And I love that about architecture because it can really emote certain feelings from you. And then you've got the super high ceilings, and then look at the ceiling here. So that tells a story about our past here along the Gulf Coast because it's haint blue, which was really something that came from the Caribbean influence from enslaved people that felt like if you had it painted blue, that haints or ghosts would not cross over it. So, everything has a story about these old houses. And and this was originally, of course, Native Americans that lived here. And then we had, city of Six Flags. So we had the French influence, the British, the Spanish. We had enslaved people that helped to build this beautiful structure. And then throughout the years, it's just weathered so many things. Think about all the world wars that we've been involved with as a country, and it's still here. And so I just love it. It kind of has a soul to the city. To me, it is the embodiment, the actual manifestation of antebellum architecture in Mobile is the Oakleigh Mansion. Look at the columns. These are Doric columns. And if you'll notice, they're boxed, but if you notice, the base of it is wider than the top. So it makes it look more, it's more pleasing to the eye as opposed to just being boxed out the whole way. Now, originally this home it's elevated about 8 feet off the ground. The bottom area was not enclosed originally, but that was enclosed later on to have more living space inside. And then you look at the staircase, which again is really just a magnificent work of art. These newel posts, and it's so solid. But if you look, there's nothing supporting it. There's no posts or anything that support the weight. And so it's cantilevered into the house. In other words, there's some beams into the house that are carrying the weight of that. And that's the beauty of it. And think about that. This guy wasn't even an architect. And somehow he was able to create this wonderful, wonderful home and build it to weather this type of subtropical climate. You know, we get over 5 feet of rain a year in Mobile. And so it's very important to be off the ground. We have a lot of termites, humidity. And so, of course, back then, they built it with super high ceilings and for the ventilation. And the T-shape allows you to open up these shutters and windows, which we're going to go, when we go inside, I'm going to show you some very fascinating aspects of it with jib doors, things like that. But I mean, just look at the symmetry of it. It's just perfectly balanced, and it is built, you can just tell it's so strong. And so I just can't talk enough about how beautiful that is. And I think part of the cool things about architecture is you can kind of build your dreams. You can build things that are so beautiful. And what we like to do on our podcast is really showcase and preserve these homes and these buildings. And this is just vital for our heritage tourism, which is really taking off in Mobile. We've got unbelievable growth. And this is a key aspect of our historic tourism where everyone needs to come and see it. We can only cover so much history in this house. I mean, it is just chock full of information. The families that lived here, the artwork, the period antiques, every aspect of it in here. If y'all come for a historic homes tour, you'll get a much deeper dive. But our goal today is to share the high points with you and look at these magnificent live oak trees. These are ancient. And, you know, it's called Oakleigh, Leigh, because that's an Anglo-Saxon word for meadow. So some of these trees, many of these trees were originally here 200 years ago when the home was built, up on this high ground, because they wanted to get that airflow, which unfortunately we're not getting a lot of today, but we are getting some shade. And you've got these great camellias and azaleas and magnolia trees and live oak trees. So it's just really nothing quite like it in this area. Okay, y'all, so we're on the front gallery. We're up about 12 to 15 feet off the ground right here. And I wanted to just share with y'all about how simple this looks, but how grand and how the scale of this. It's almost 12 foot tall, these windows, about 4 feet wide, so allowed circulation and light to get in, but an also cool adaptation to homes down here. This is called a shutter dog, keeps the shutters held back. But this right here, the shutters are designed to close within the window casing, right? So when we have hurricanes, you can close these windows and it gives you great protection from the wind. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a hurricane. You can also, it provides you with a lot of shade where you can open these windows from the inside and the air will circulate through these shutters. So just really an ingenious design of the way these homes were built. The other aspect of it is, if you see, this is a flat front here with the siding. You know, typically you would have lap siding or a plaster front, but this is flat fronted. And the reason for that is from the exterior, when you look at it, it looks more like stone. So they're trying to replicate a Greek temple, which was made out of stone. So by doing that, it's just another aspect of it that really helps to kind of pull that off. But I mean, look at this door, Greek Revival door, 2-pane, original door knocker here. And then you've got the original doorbell. And so we're going to go inside and you'll actually be able to hear the doorbell. But how cool is that? You pull on it and go inside. So look at the size of this. Let's go inside here. Welcome into the Oakleigh Mansion. Now keep that going. Let me ring the doorbell again. How cool is that? That's the only original doorbell I know that's that old in Mobile. But again, so you have this big, thick, heavy door, but then you also have a transom above the door that allows the light to come in too. So that was so important. Of course, didn't have electricity, didn't have air conditioning. And then you come in, this is a side hall. So you have this expansive hallway, which is about 8 foot wide, with ceilings that are just amazing. I mean, the height of these ceilings are just astounding. And then you've got incredible artwork in here in period antiques. You have some of the original owners of the home, the Roper family, the Irwins. They recently even found another family that they recently have been researching called the Tisdales. It's just a fascinating story of our city and the people that lived here and all the different trades and the culture and everything. And then if you look at these floors, these are actually all heart pine flooring, right? So the middle of a pine tree, these longleaf pine trees, these heart pine has so much resin sap in it that it's just perfect for the environment because it doesn't rot. It's resistant to insects and termites. And look at how grand this is, y'all. This is a double parlor. This was really ideal for entertaining. Right now, originally, of course, it wouldn't have had these chandeliers. And these mantles are more Italianate. They actually had a more simple Greek Revival style original mantles. But again, you know, as things became more popular through different periods of our country's history, things were altered. And this also tells a story about, you know, that Italianate period and different things like that. So you have these huge pier mirrors, which were designed to reflect light as well. So look at these windows. A lot of these curtains are closed right now. But you know, when they're all open, it'd be so much light in here. So all the moldings in here, you've got these are plaster crown molding, which is extremely labor intensive to do. And then look at these, y'all. So you've got the windows, and then at the base here, they call these jib doors. So these doors actually open, and then you lift the windows up, and then you walk out on the porch. That's a cool adaptation that they made here along the Gulf Coast to really, you know, for entertaining and things like that. But this is one of my favorite things in the whole house. Look at these double pocket doors, and it's like butter. Look at how smooth that is. The original tracking here, these are like 10-foot tall doors. And so this was great because, you know, the men would maybe separate, you know, when we have parties, it's always the men and women separate. So you could close these doors and you have two separate rooms. And I think it's just kind of brilliant. It's kind of open concept 200 years before its time. So you could open them or keep them closed. But I'm fascinated with these. And I mean, they just are extremely well built to last that long. And they replicated these Doric columns from the exterior into the house, which really kind of gives you that same rhythm of this kind of architecture, which is my favorite. I just love Greek Revival because look at the scale of it. If I stand over here, look at how small I look comparatively speaking, to the size of these rooms. They're just immense. So of course the heat would rise, and you'd have a lot of parties and have, you know, people entertaining here. You've got some incredible period pianos with mother of pearl keys. Look at how beautiful these keys are. But highly encourage you to come to the Historic Homes Tour because they get into so much detail about so many of the people that lived here and the entertainment that happened here. And then you've got Octavia Levert, who was such a famous socialite here in Mobile. And she was all over Europe, met with the Queen, and just hosted a lot of people downtown. She was just very highly thought of. And you know, one of the cool stories about this home is after the during the Civil War, the wife of James Roper, as Union soldiers came up here, she flew the Union Jack, the British flag, and told them that she was a British citizen, so as not to create some kind of global disturbance. She claimed her British sovereignty so that they would not try to burn the house or tear it down, destroy it. So it was so shrewd of her to think of that, to save this thing. Who knows what would have happened if she hadn't been that smart and witty to have thought of that at that time. So these are just the two biggest rooms in the front of the house. And as we go into the back part of the house, you'll see the bedrooms. But look at this right here. Let me show you this one. Here's another jib door. See how this opens? So these open up, and then this window, which is locked, But anyway, this window would lift up, and then you'd have a whole nother area to sit out here. And you've got the repetition of the shutters, the columns, the windows, all throughout the house. It's just beautiful balance and symmetry. It was so pleasing to the eye, and it's just incredibly well built, this home. And then there's also, there's a lot of with these old homes. There's so much legend and lore. Supposedly, it's haunted. And stay tuned. We might do a little special on that at some point, which would be awesome. I would love to spend the night in here and kind of see what happens here at night, to see if you can hear voices and things like that, footsteps. So just really fascinating. But look at the eared architrave. See how the door, it has like ears on the side? It's very Greek. So the door casing slightly angles upward, very ever so slightly. And then it has this cornice over the top of it as well. It's a decorative element, but it's just it looks like ancient Rome or Greece, doesn't it? And it's so simple, but it's so aesthetically and just beautiful. So I'm just in love with this. Look at the columns. So you have the columns on either side of the pocket doors. Then they replicated pilasters on the exterior to kind of continue that same rhythm. And these chandeliers are magnificent as well. You have to have light. So, yeah, I'd love for y'all to come for a historic homes tour. One of the things that Mobile is just so renowned for is its antebellum architecture. We have such a rich fabric of homes here, and people that come here from other parts of the country are just amazed at all the different types of architecture that we have. Federal, we have Greek Revival, Italianate, neoclassical, bungalow, craftsman, Gothic. I mean, we have just an incredible mix of all of these different styles and types. When you go down some of these streets, it just really kind of takes you back. And so it's very different from today, where homes are built, kind of all at once and kind of cookie cutter. These are all unique materials. Matter of fact, there isn't any more heart pine left to build these floors out of, because all the trees were cut down. Same thing with the cypress. There's no more of that ancient cypress trees to build. So all these materials, it's just so important for us to save these for future generations, because the thing about history is it really helps to give you a sense of place. Like, how did we get here? How was this city built this way? Why? We were such a huge cotton port with 5 rivers coming into the mouth of Mobile Bay, and all the rich soil we had up with all the cotton. So it was just a real boom time, 1830s, 1850s in Mobile. It was a very profitable time for the city. And so these are just really sentinels of our past that have stood the test of time. And hopefully we can get younger generations to embrace that, because it does make us so unique from anywhere else in the country. We have this Gulf Coast influence, which a lot of people notice. It's kind of like a baby New Orleans, because it has that French influence, and it also has some British and Spanish, but you really feel the French with the roof lines, some of the cast iron work, the plaster, and we love it here. And this is a showcase place. We're going to have a huge party this fall. Hope y'all can make it. Okay, y'all, look at this. Look at the little hands on here. This actually goes to the gasolier. This originally was a gas chandelier and was converted to electrical. But look how they saved this. And this is what you'd actually light the gas with. Isn't that awesome, with a flame? And so they saved that, which is, I've never seen one before. I just thought that was really awesome. And as well as this bed, this is a Victorian era bed. But look at how functional and how ingenious they were. So they had posts. You had a 4-corner bed, and you would put this in there, and then you could drape your linens and things over it, so mosquitoes couldn't bite you and things like that. And this goes all the way back to Europe, because hundreds of years ago, they had thatched roofs, and so you had varmints and things in the attic or on the roof, and so they helped protect somebody while they were sleeping. But I just thought that was fascinating. All the preservation efforts that have been made here to save these tell such a vital story about our city and our history. And how could we talk about Mobile history without talking about Mardi Gras? Look at this little vase here. This, I don't know if that's pewter or sterling silver, but with the goat. This is the Strikers. This is a Mardi Gras association. And this is invaluable piece. It's basically really priceless. But they've saved some of that as well on top of this Portoro marble mantle. This is one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever seen. This came from Italy. And the gold veining, the more gold veining in this type of marble is, the more valuable it is. And this is the most choice piece I have ever seen. There's also one in Bluff Hall in Demopolis that maybe rivals that, but that is astounding. And so they were so smart about using, just like with mantles, they would use the most beautiful wood grain in the pieces that you would actually see. And so I just love that. It's been converted to, to gas at that point. And then look at this. You ever heard the expression about throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Well, back then, the baby would get the bath last. So the water was so dirty, you might throw the baby out with the bathwater. I thought that was kind of neat. And then look at this. So they had to be so smart and resourceful about things. So this, under here, you would put hot coal inside this, and then you could put it in your bed to keep you warm at night. So, I mean, that is really a marquee piece there of just saving all these little trinkets and different things in this home. And so, yeah, it's just so fine. The antiques, the period mantles, everything's been just saved, and it's just great. The display of it just really takes you back in time. And I'm just passionate about history and preservation and architecture, and all of it kind of just all blends together. This mantle back here, this is another little bedroom in here. This is a very simple. This was like a kind of a country home, really. At that time, this was out on the outskirts of the city. And so look at how simple this is, but it's a very simple, balanced Greek Revival mantle. And so there's a lot of restraint and things there, almost kind of like the federal period. It's just a lot of restraint used, but the simplicity of it is kind of the beauty of it as well. And so we come in through, there's just, like, as I said, there's just so much to talk about. Some of the artwork in here, some of these tapestries and paintings, and all the different citizens of the city of Mobile. There are some people that are in this painting, actually, that are in that painting over there that you can see, that you can pick out in here. And then we come back through this last room in here. Now, see, that would be the original mantle as well. That's a simple. This is more of a study type area, but it's so cool to be up high like this, because you're up so high off the ground, and definitely you can see how opening all these windows. And see, these are all jib door windows as well. So the bottoms open up, the windows floor to ceiling. You just walk out on it, and it's got a lot of it has the original old artesian blown glass. So you see kind of the waviness in the panes. And I love looking through the wrinkled kind of glass, because it's still kind of moving. So I love to try to save that. If you go back and forth through it, you see how things kind of ripples. And so this is an amazing, amazing home. And as I said, kind of just an iconic landmark in the city of Mobile. And we're so grateful that it was saved. And the preservationists had the thought to go to the mayor. And, and here we are almost 100 years later, giving tours, and people that come here are just absolutely astounded at the grandeur of this, and the trees, with these beautiful resurrection ferns growing on them. And there's different seasons here. Of course, we're known as the Azalea City. And when the azaleas are blooming with the dogwoods and the camellias, I mean, it looks like this little slice of heaven. So we're trying to really, we've got a lot of people that are really working together in the gardens and doing a phenomenal job at cleaning it up and landscaping and reimagining different spaces, so that we can tell a story about this home and the people that lived here. And I just hope y'all can come see it. Hey, y'all, come on in. This is downstairs. This is converted into a gift shop. They have some awesome trinkets and memorabilia and things in here. But I wanted to show y'all this door. Look at this rim lock. This is amazing. Look at how the size of this. This is huge. I've never seen one this large. And look at the straps and things. It was built to stand the test of time. I mean, look at this. So down here, we've got all kinds of books and all different things about Mardi Gras and T-shirts. And so this is how we help fund some of the things that we do, is through the gift shop. So encourage y'all to come down here. They also have some great prints and things like that you can get framed of the bay, Mobile Bay, and all those types of things. So anyway, we just wanted to show this to you. This has been thoughtfully repurposed in a way to help add value to the mansion, and for people that are interested in buying a piece of history and things like that to remember it by. So just love the space. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have any questions or comments or any suggestions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.